So here it is, our Christmas goose, fattened on a mixture of wheat and Christmas tree. The idea is to use every part of the goose in the meal. Nothing will go to waste. The legs I take off to cook in a traditional way, which I'll come to later. Then the skin is removed, which I roast separately to get an amazing crispness. Then the breasts. I'll vacuum pack them in goose fat and cook them in a 56-degree water bath, which maintains all the moisture and flavour in the meat. Now, back to the goose legs. This recipe is called powdered goose and was popular in the 17th century. I've cooked the goose legs very gently in goose fat for 50 hours at 65 degrees, and then smoked them for 20 minutes over cherry chips, giving it a delicate smoky flavour. These will then be shredded and added to the velouté that I'm going to serve with the goose. Now to my chestnut velouté. I've brushed a bowl with hazelnut butter and coated it with ground hazelnuts. Here I'm piping in some pureed potatoes to the bottom of the bowl. On top of that, I'm going to add some of the powdered goose. Remember, this is the confit goose legs that we smoked over cherry chips. Now on top of that, I'm going to add some pickled chestnuts and some white truffle. Then finally, the chestnut velouté, a wonderfully rich mix made with chestnuts, butter and the stock from the goose. Top it, just put the cover on with some chestnuts on. That's missing the key thing. This is based on chestnuts roasting on an open fire, so I need chestnuts roasted on open fire. I take a glass cloche and place it over some roasting chestnuts, into which the smoke then rises. And the idea with this is the guests, when they first take the soup, they pull the jar off and turn it upside down. Then they'll get the full impact of the smell of chestnuts roasting on an open fire. So now to finish my goose main course. First off, in here I've got some fresh black pudding that's cooked at a lower temperature for a long time, continually mixing this wonderful, rich, velvety chocolate texture. I then carve the breasts into thick pieces, which I lightly glaze with a sauce made from wine, the goose bones, and lots of spices. I then add it to a mix made with sage and goose cracker that we've made in a similar way to prawn crackers. Then I add some grelotte onions. Next, some small turnips cooked in a butter and water mixture. Here is goose skin that we've roasted and lacquered. Now some salt that I've flavoured with the same pine that I fed to the geese. Some sauce, a few drops of sage oil to mirror the stuffing we fed to the geese, then some pickling brine, and finally the goose cracker. And there's my perfect Christmas goose.
Oh my God.
In front of us.
In front of us.
Oh, here. And get the smoke up. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah. Smell it. That brings me back to our house, the old Christmases, around the electric fire. Don't eat the chestnuts.
The velouté is fantastic.
Oh, look at the velouté. What is it?
That's really good. That's really lovely. And it just became this fabulous thing. There wasn't a word off that table. There was just complete silence. And 6 inveterate egomaniacs, and look at me people, just went, can't talk, eating.
Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That is really, really up there for me. With one of the nicest things I've ever had. God, it was really special. It was really... That's the sort of food that I'm going to go home and then cry about in an hour's time.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Oh,
What do you mean? Like this has got happy sounds.
absolutely.
This is just
Yeah, there goes the
delicious.
conversation.
The flavour, it's just the intensity.
I've eaten in some of the best little chefs in the world, but this...
You've eaten some of the best little chefs.
I've eaten some of the best little chefs in the world, but this is a step up, I'll be honest.
It was, as Sue felt the same, that it's something that I will remember till I'm in my box, and probably never to be repeated.
Now, so far we've got quite a few Christmas memories in this dinner, but there's a key one that we're missing: Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.